what's up YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at the Switch version of Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus. Now, originally released last year on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And if you're interested in some gameplay footage of the Switch version, I'll have a link in the description. Along with, if you want to see my original review of Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus on the PS4, I will also have a link in the description for that one as well. So last year was sort of interesting for the Nintendo Switch. When Nintendo ran one of their directs, one of the biggest surprise, and this, I believe this was in October, I could be wrong, was the announcement of, out of nowhere, Doom 2016. Not Doom 3, but Doom 2016 was coming to the Nintendo Switch. I literally dropped my mouth when I saw that announcement. I did not think that that game could come to the Nintendo Switch. It was something I would like to see happen, but I never thought it would come. So when they announced that game, though, I was shocked with that announcement, along with the announcement that Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, was also coming to the Nintendo Switch as well. So it was a big surprise at the time when they made that announcement. And when Doom finally came out, it basically was surprisingly not a bad port, and Panic Button really did a good job with it. It also at the same time showed the system's limitations as well. And with Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, coming out already out for the Nintendo Switch, it certainly is a good game, but like Doom, there are those limitations. So why don't we get started with, our pros and cons on it. So we'll get started first with the pros. And the first pro I would like to say is the story. One of the things that fascinated me with the New Colossus and the New Order was this very, very interesting story of what happened in a world where the Nazis won World War II, and it shows sort of the horror of what the Nazis did and so forth. So from story-wise, it's really neat. I like how they did that alternative history, or alternate history in a way. I must have said the wrong one. I meant alternate history to be exact. So from a story perspective, it's really, really good. The next one I do want to talk about is the gameplay, and this is one of the things about Wolfenstein I like. The game here is over-the-top action, and that's what this game is all about. It's basically you going in, you could go stealth, or you could go gun blazing as well. Hell, you could go in with holding like 2 guns at the same time to take out the enemies as well. So it is a fun game that could be both stealth or over-the-top action, and I definitely am a big fan of that over-the-top action. While the areas are certainly not on the same level as Doom, where Doom was a little bit bigger, this one's a little bit more lenient. I really did not have any problem with that. So in terms of gameplay, it's really fun. It's over-the-top action, and I like that. And last but not least, though, I have to say, I gotta give credit to Panic Button. Once again, they have proven that they can show that they could easily bring a game over to a Switch, providing, optimization and so forth. And they've proven themselves with Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, much like with Doom as well. This is an impressive thing that Panic Button can do. The fact that they could bring a graphically demanding game like Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, to the Nintendo Switch is impressive, though. This is definitely a very impressive thing that they are able to do, and I'm looking forward to seeing more games, even if it's ports, though, but more games coming from Panic Button as well, and I hope it encourages other developers to bring their games over to the Nintendo Switch. So it's still impressive that Panic Button can still manage to port the entire game onto the Nintendo Switch. That is a very impressive feat indeed. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, the cons, and I'll give you my thoughts on the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp that I saw over the weekend. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our review of Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus for the Nintendo Switch. Now that I gave you my pros about the game, why don't I give you my cons? And the big con has to do with one of the things I mentioned earlier. Now, as I said earlier, the game is impressive. The fact that Panic Button was able to squeeze much out of the Switch to be able to put the entire game of Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. And that is a very impressive feat. Don't get me wrong about that. Having said all of that, though, like the Switch version of Doom, though, it also shows the game's limitations. And I mentioned this in my review of the Switch version of Doom, and some of that stuff does apply to the Nintendo Switch version. For starters, though, obviously the game is going to run at 720p 30 frames per second for the most part, though, although I noticed the frame rate was at a steady 30 frames per second, at least with Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, more than I could say about Doom, although I heard they sort of patched that one up as well, and which again isn't a huge, which won't be a problem for some people, but it might be an issue for others, though. The other thing to point out is that there are times when the game is a little bit blurry. It doesn't make it unplayable, but you can obviously see some blur here and there in terms of some of the texture, obviously showing the system's limitations, to be exact, though. The other thing, like Doom as well, is that the Joy-Cons work. They do work fine. However, obviously the Pro controller is still the better option if you're going to play Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus on the Nintendo Switch, much like with Doom as well. And last but certainly not least, it is worth pointing out, though, that if you're going to download this game, it will require an 8GB download. This only applies if you're picking up the physical copy. If by any chance you're going for the digital version, it will require a 21GB download, from what I understand, which, yeah, I mean, this is certainly one of the issues that I think either third-party developers or Nintendo is going to have to address. This whole, you gotta download the rest of it onto, the system and all that stuff. So most of my criticism I have for Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, is pretty much similar to what I said about Doom on the Nintendo Switch as well, which is, it's running at 720p 30 frames per second. Visually, it's not going to be as impressive as basically, the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And the Joy-Cons work, but the Pro controller is the better option. Overall, I honestly have to say I still enjoy Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. Even though this is the Switch version, and even though it's not going to be anywhere near the same level as the PS4, Xbox One, or the PC Steam version, though, it is still a fun game, and it still plays well on the Nintendo Switch. It amazes me how Panic Button was able to pull that off and put this into the Nintendo Switch very well. Do I recommend the game? Oh yes, I do. Out of all the FPS shooters out there, Doom and Wolfenstein remain my favorite of all time. Do I recommend the Switch version? I would say yes, but it's a cautious recommendation for the Switch version, though. Much like with Doom on the Nintendo Switch, though, the only way I would recommend picking up the Switch version of Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus for the Nintendo Switch, would be if the Switch is your main console of choice. You're picking it up for the portability, though, so the fact that you can play this on the go and not worry about if your laptop is able to play a game like Wolfenstein 2. And last but certainly not least, you are aware that this version that you're picking up is going to run at 720p 30 frames per second, and it's not going to run on the same level as, say, the PS4, the Xbox One, or the PC/Steam version. If you have an issue with the game running at 720p 30 frames per second, then I wouldn't recommend the Switch version. I would recommend going towards PS4, Xbox One, and PC version. That being said, if you're okay with it running at 720p 30 frames per second, and that isn't as big of an issue, though, then yeah, I would recommend picking up the game, though. So overall, it's still a recommendation. I like Wolfenstein the new Colossus, though, but like I said, it's kind of a cautious recommendation for the Switch version. It all boils down to how big of the resolution and frame rate, how big of a deal that is for you though, and whether or not you're okay with sacrificing it dropping to 720p 30 frames per second for the portability and having it at for the most part stable 30 frames per second. Okay, before I end this review, I do want to give my thoughts on the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp though. Now I saw this over the weekend though, and honestly I have to say my opinion about that movie is that it's good. I won't say it's great, like on the same level as say Avengers Infinity War is, but it's as good as the first one, it's an enjoyable Marvel movie. I just don't think it's my favorite one compared to say the first Iron Man or Captain America, the first Avengers movie, Captain America Winter Soldier, and Avengers Infinity War that came out this week though. As far as the plot goes, the movie takes place after Captain America Civil War and shows Scott Lang under house arrest and so forth, and excuse me, and them going into the quantum realm to rescue Hank Pym's wife and so forth. And the movie, the end credit scenes basically open up to what happens after Avengers Infinity War, and I won't spoil exactly what happens to who, but you sort of know what happens though right there. So it's a very interesting movie. It's funny. There are scenes that are funny as well, and I did enjoy it. Again, not the best Marvel movie out there. It isn't like Infinity War or Winter Soldier or Captain America the First Avengers or the First Avengers or Iron Man. It may not be on my top list of favorite Marvel movies out there, but I did enjoy this movie overall. Okay, this concludes this video review of Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus for the Nintendo Switch, and my thoughts on the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp. And again, these are my opinions. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus on the Nintendo Switch? Do you think it's worth them porting it over to the Nintendo Switch? Have you picked up the Switch version? Have you enjoyed it though? Does the fact that it runs at 720p 30 frames per second and can be a bit blurry at times bother you? Or is that a non-issue though, and are you willing to accept it running at 720p 30 frames per second? What about the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp? Did you see it? Did you enjoy that movie? Do you think it's the best Marvel movie out there? Do you think it's the worst Marvel movie out there? Or do you think it's sort of like you enjoyed it, but it wasn't the best Marvel movie at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any more videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to. And feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!